back, everyone, and we're excited to present this next episode of the Eazy Benefits Blueprint today. Today, I'm joined by my colleague, Ben Wolkowycki.
Hey John, how's it going? Thanks for letting me join here.
Awesome. But today, Ben, we're going to be talking about employers and where they often miss the mark on benefits. And, I can tell you right out of the gate, a lot of good stuff coming up in this episode here today, but wanted to just start with kind of setting the stage. And, I can tell you as a younger person, when I first joined the workforce, one of the things that really struck out to me was a lot of our benefits and really understanding that, fresh out of school, a lot of them really didn't check the box of what I was looking for. I was, touch wood, very healthy, not taking any medication, not wearing any glasses. So a lot of those nice to have benefits I didn't really need at this time. And so when we talk about default packages, Ben, what are you kind of seeing yourself out there today? How did that feel for you?
Yeah, definitely. I actually had a very similar experience when I joined the workforce too. Just the one size fits all model really doesn't work well, right? In a workforce, you've got a lot of different demographics. You might have families, you might have young people. So yeah, that one size fits all demographic benefits doesn't really work too well. That was a personal experience for me that I found.
Yeah, and I find employers are often thinking that they're doing a great job, and quite honestly, they are in most cases. To be honest with you, they're often offering a pretty robust benefits package. But I think, the default kind of, hey, here's what it's been for the last 20 years. Here's kind of what everybody's been offering, and let's kind of check the box this way. Your health, your dental, life insurance, disability, vision. We're now starting to see a larger push of group retirement into small, medium-sized businesses as well too. I think a lot of that has really formed some of the industry norms on our side. Ben, when we look at this, like, what do you like? Is that kind of the feedback you're seeing out there, or how's that looking?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can really see that the industry norm is formed around a basic benefits plan. Something we're tiptoeing a lot into is flex plans for small, medium-sized companies. So just offering employees a flex selection of benefits. So whether that's buying up to additional health benefits, or looking at flexible spending accounts through a taxable or a healthcare spending account program.
Yeah, and I think that's a great call out. I think over the last 5 years, especially since COVID, the whole world has kind of turned upside down on its head. We've had, the barrier of everybody going remote to everybody coming back to work to more of a hybrid model. And then now, as we see with the fall and some of the things the Ontario government is doing with more of the mandate of the RTO, we are seeing a shift in kind of, employee habits. And that's kind of translating a little bit into the benefits because, what employees loved the most during COVID, I found at least, was, the flexibility, the ability to work from home. And that's really kind of spilled over into the benefits world. And I think you really hit the nail on the head there, Ben, where you're looking at things like flexibility, being able to choose what you want. You've now got people working much longer into the workforce, into their 60s and 70s. And, we've even got some people in their 80s in the workforce now as well, too. And, what they may need at the top end of the spectrum is very different than, when you and I were joining in the workforce as well, too.
Agreed, for sure. And I think there's a bit of a, when you look at a flexible spending account from an administrative perspective, you might think that it's tough to manage. There might be, difficulties in selections, finding the right coverage. But there are a lot of good programs out there that we work with and that we set up that are easy to administer on the flex benefit side. And then talking about, flex, an easy intro into flex as well is the healthcare spending account, or taxable spending account, right? Introducing one of those two products is a nice way to tiptoe into introing flex.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when you're looking at things like those spending accounts, as you noticed, Ben, particularly, the taxable or the personal or the wellness, they've all got very interchangeable names for another. We often see employers positioning those as wellness accounts or culture accounts is really how they've been promoting it. And so why we call them culture accounts is because it's really an opportunity for organizations to really reinforce some of the values of them as an organization, whether that's, hey, we're going to be supporting you from a work from home, and we're going to be giving you support from office equipment at home, to, hey, we want you commuting into the office. We're going to help subsidize, whether it's a bus pass, a TTC pass for those in Toronto, or even, helping to subsidize gas on a monthly basis. Really, everything and anything in between. And, I think, Ben, one of the things that I'd love to hear your opinion on is even just, Gen Z, Gen X, millennials, everyone's kind of looking for something different. Where do you see that kind of fitting into the whole world of flexibility here?
For sure. I think that that's a big piece, especially with the culture spending accounts you're talking about. I mean, opening up the aperture to allow people to use it for gym memberships, or recreational activities, things like that. I think that does go a long way with the Gen Z group. But also just introducing online platforms as well, things like virtual care, EAP programs, employee assistance programs, kind of opening up the flexibility to include things like that as well, I think is big for Gen Z and the younger group.
Absolutely. And, I think the other piece, we've seen it across survey data, even within our own client base here as well, too, where more and more employees are loving choice. And that's really, I can tell you the first kind of conversation we have with our clients or even with new clients is how can I offer more options to my employees while also kind of keeping our costs sustainable. And I think, we go back to this from that first episode of the Easy Benefits Blueprint where we were talking about, how to keep costs sustainable and really moving away from that defined benefit to that defined contribution model and really looking at allocating appropriate cost to each employee so that then they've got some opportunity to buy up, buy down, or even to look at allocating benefit spend proportionate to where they want to see it. Because, when you look at engagement and utilization, and you really, when you're able to tap into those types of pieces and allow people to choose their own journey and what matters most to them, engagement is way up, utilization is way up, which is often very telltale with their positive feedback with the overall program as well too.
Definitely. And I think, right, if you look at the demographics of most work groups, I mean, especially now, there is a wide variety of members in there. You might have somebody that's young, 25-year-old, no family. You might have somebody middle age with a young family, and you might have somebody that's 65 plus. So you want to be able to set that benefit structure so that it works for everybody. And definitely the defined contribution as well works really well for plan sponsors, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, I think Ottawa is a great example, Ben, where, you've got a lot of the population are working for government, have more robust benefit programs. And so you often have employees at, organizations in Ottawa where, hey, I don't really need all this coverage. My spouse has a fantastic program. And so being able to give them flexibility, whether it's spending accounts, flex dollars, or RSP contributions, it's really kind of opening up the appetite for them to be able to spend the dollars where it matters most. But I think, Ben, as we look at that, like one thing I think that stands between being able to offer all this flexibility is kind of the communication. And, I think how do we roll that out? How do we support on that? That's one of the most important things that I see in programs out there today.
Agreed. Yeah, I think that the communication piece is really big for members, but as well for the administrators and the plan sponsors, right? You want it to go over well with members, but you also want it to work on, for your company as well on an administrative basis. And I think that the defined contribution really covers a lot of that. But agreed, we're doing a lot on communications around flex plans, and setting it up so that members feel like they have the choice, but also the administrators are understanding as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's also where, as advisors, as consultants, and, really talking to business owners, I think there's also a bit of a disconnect around, the cost of these programs. And, I think I can't tell you how many times we've walked in and, there's clients or there's sentiment in the market that, oh, by offering flexibility, it's going to cost me more. Well, I would strongly disagree with that. And I really think, when you optimize your dollar benefit spend and you're able to really bring forth the best solution, you're really actually able to deliver value while also keeping costs sustainable. And I think that's, a proper education and, really comes down to plan design and ensuring that, not only are we designing the program properly, but also really being able to communicate to the employer and the HR team and, the key decision makers about how this program works and how we're going to optimize their spend. Because over the longevity term, that's really where they're able to start to drive value for the employees as well, too.
Absolutely. And I mean, to touch on that, that's a great point. We're always looking at building out that flex plan so that it works for members, but also for the business, looking at long-term guarantees, locking in rates for, a longer period of time, as well as a 2-year, selection period on flex, things like that. But it's really unique what we're doing, I would say, with the, a 3-tier flex plan, for instance, having the ability for members to buy up, buy down, using things like healthcare spending accounts to, work with that flexibility is really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think where that note comes in is, you're looking at defined contribution, you're looking at setting that budget. And then you're also kind of able to look at continuously, exploring newer benefit options. And so, as your demographics change, you could maybe want to offer a new type of benefit. And so we've seen this in the past where, as an organization shifts, they're in that infancy where, they're young startup, people are really concerned about, going to the gym or yoga and really focusing in that space too. Now, hey, everybody's kind of looking at family planning benefits, looking at longer term retirement strategies because they've now entered into a new stage of their life and they want to start to explore those opportunities. And I think it's really important that you're often having a pulse check with employers to really understand, hey, what's going on with the workforce? What's the feedback that you're doing? And I think it all kind of starts at the top with the employers. And I think that's where us as advisors and consultants being able to bring those strategies forward to the business owners.
Absolutely. I mean, when you talk about fear of cost too, maybe we can double click into defined contribution and just chat through that a little bit more. I mean, most plans, traditional plans, you've got an overall premium cost. When it flips to a flex plan, introducing the defined contribution where you give members, maybe that dollar allocation that they can use to purchase different benefits, maybe we can just chat through that a little bit more as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, when you're looking at those strategies and really rolling out those flex plans, I think it's important that, you're having those strategy conversations before you're even rolling out. Because again, you can come to an organization and you may be doing a great job as a business right now where you're offering the Cadillac of benefits and you don't need to change anything because, your employees love it. You're being very generous and there's really no issues. And oftentimes I think the best place is to start with the key decision makers, those strategic HR people, those business owners, and really getting them to understand a pulse on the business. And it's all about kind of having that open dialogue and really being able to communicate with them on how those things work. And so, I think even surveys, I mean, we've seen surveys work very well, Ben. And, what are you kind of seeing out there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's key, right? Is benchmarking for your group, but also looking internally and making sure that you're, looking at your group demographics and understanding what they're looking for, listening to them. I mean, a lot of what we're doing as well is meeting in person with people, and you get a lot of feedback through, in-person employee presentations, things like that. It's really good to get that one-on-one feedback with the members. You get those little anecdotes of things they are looking for, right, that the benefits plan might not cover. I mean, back to you on, things that you're looking at in benefits plans, aside from flex, things like virtual care, mental health support. What are some things you're looking to add to plans outside of the flex group?
Yeah, that's a great comment. And from a benefits perspective, I mean, we're starting all the way at the top with more of the executive level, where you're looking at things like VIP medical coverage, where hey, you're looking for fast, quick access. Navigating our healthcare system in Canada can be extremely challenging, and so looking at models where you can support those types of solutions, all the way down to a day to day, whether it's hey, we're offering a perks program to our employees and being able to offer employee discounts and it's now evolved outside of that traditional scope of, hey, we've got a health and dental plan, life's disability, and the flex is fantastic. People are loving that, but it's now also become more of that more robust conversation. And so we've walked into organizations where they've got a lot of young grads joining the program. And, rather than rolling out a group RSP program, we looked at rolling out a program where, hey, we're helping you pay down your student loans. But for those also in the early part of your livelihood, we've also set up an account where your employer will also help contribute to you saving up for that first time home. And so really it's all breadths of demographics. We've got a new product more recently that we've been rolling out to some employers where it helps individuals navigate the fertility system in Canada. And so whether it's something such as, hey, I'm looking for an IVF support through the government, how do I go about navigating that, to how do I have a clinic near me and where does that support me and how can I navigate the system? It's not easy. These tools are becoming more and more prominent, especially with what employers are looking to do. They're trying to develop more consistent strategies around their wellness and also with the employees, and understanding the demographics of those employees is very important as well too.
I think that's great. I mean, you touched on a great piece there, really the educational benefits, first-time home buyers, those unique, fringe benefits that might not be, introduced to a plan often are great for the younger population as well, right? That's really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just even to touch on a quick success story here, we had an organization where they came in and the organization was offering a very generous, flexible program. And, I think we talk about flex and there's bad connotations with flex. I think it's really important, as I said, to have that design right from the get-go. And there was an organization that we came into where it simply did not have the model for a well-structured program where not only were we able to clean up the program, optimize the cost for that employer, but now we're looking at adding more and more benefits. And we've slowly, the first piece that we looked at doing was adding a significant mental health benefit increase to their program. Year over year, mental health spend was up 204% once we rolled that benefit out to them. The employees obviously saw tremendous value. Through that, we were also able to roll out a robust EAP and virtual healthcare program. So again, that started with a conversation with the key decision makers where, hey, what coverages are you offering? What's getting the most value out of this? And are we actually checking the box and meeting the needs of those employees that you have? They've got anywhere from the head office to a manufacturing, and all of them has very specific needs. And so by being able to tailor the appropriate program to you, not only were we able to reduce costs by 15% to the business, but we were also able to roll out significant enhancements. And it was a win-win across the board. And it makes everybody's lives easier. When you're adding value, you're saving money, and the employees are happy. That's really all you can ask for and that's the stuff that gets us excited, to be honest.
Exactly. That is the exciting stuff. And I think that's really important, right? You're rolling out the benefits that that group of employees is looking for, right? So it's even double clicking into the usage of the plan, as it is right now, as it stands, and looking into that and seeing what are members looking for. Is the mental health practitioner usage high? Are they, claiming this certain amount of thing more than others? And leaning into those different benefit categories and maybe increasing those. So that's great. Yeah, exciting story.
Yeah, and I think that, the data comes down to everything as well too. And there's data is one thing you'll hear about us talk about all the time is understanding your data, leveraging your data, understanding how many people have maxed out paramedicals, what types of paramedicals are they maxing out? Do you have 20 people maxing out your mental health benefit? Maybe it's not meeting the mark that in that regards. Do you have people maxing out vision benefits? What does that look like? It's really important to have good data because without that, you're really kind of left wondering, am I actually doing the right piece? And so not only is it understanding the data, but also digesting the data. And so as plan sponsors, as advisors, we should be meeting on a minimum of a quarterly basis to kind of go through that data to really indicate the trends, highlighting, hey, here's something to be looking out for. Here's some trends we've noticed within your business. And this is really where we want to be going forward now that we understand what's actually going on with the day-to-day usage.
Exactly. I think that's a key piece really that we look to use is that experience and that data. I mean, double clicking into that and just looking at the data and really seeing where the usage might sit for a group is something that we look to do as brokers, and meeting with you as plan sponsors, right, is important to get a sense of where that sits. So yeah, that's a great point, John.
Yeah, and I think it's, understanding how do I stack up against my competitors? What are you seeing across industries, especially in things like mental health, prescription medication. That's going to be the highest costing thing that we're seeing across our clients today. Is how are we managing those costs? And so, the data is just as important as the communications. And when you have a marriage of those two, you're really able to start adding value to the employees and yourselves as the businesses.
On the mental health practitioner side, I mean, we're seeing costs increase year over year for practitioners and things like that. So it's, how do you mitigate things like that, year over year increases for things like psychotherapists or psychologists?
Yeah, absolutely. And you hit a lot of nails on the head. Well, I think we hit on a lot of great conversations today. I think, really key takeaway for us is, having those conversations, understanding your data. That's really where the conversation starts to building out a successful benefit strategy. And also let's understand the workforce as well too. And so, really appreciate everybody tuning in for another episode of today's podcast, the Eazy Benefits Blueprint. I hope you enjoy listening. As a reminder, always hit the like, the subscribe, and we'll be back for more before you know it. Thanks again.
Awesome. Great chatting with you, John.